Kayvon Thibodeaux got drafted and nobody else this year for the Ducks. That was really, really strange. I mean, Verone McKinley is a first-team All-American in 2021. Mykael Wright took a step back in 2021, but was, someone who had a really good career, an all Pac-12 caliber performer. Both of those guys were expected to be drafted. And when I talked to Mel Kiper Jr., I said, who are the next Ducks off the board? He was very confident both those guys would be selected. Now, they were going to be later round picks. That was always the projection. McKinley was at best going to go in the third or fourth, but I thought Mykael Wright would go in the fifth and McKinley maybe, kind of late in the fourth. The fact that neither were selected really surprised me. I'm not totally sure what happened there. With Verone, I think what you have is a lack of elite measurables. He ran a 4.65 40-yard dash. So that's actually slower than Kayvon Thibodeaux ran at the combine. He's only 5'11" as well. So, he was every bit as impactful of a player as Jevon Holland was while he was with the Ducks. Holland maybe a little bit more so, but McKinley this year and Holland last year, man, they were dudes were studs, absolute studs when they were playing in the secondary. And at their peak, I couldn't stand the thought of having either off the field because they were so darn good. But Jevon Holland is bigger and Jevon Holland is faster. And in the NFL, everybody's bigger and faster. And so I think that's ultimately why McKinley wasn't drafted initially. He signed an undrafted free agent contract with the Dolphins, ironically. So he reunites with his old secondary pal, Jevon Holland, assuming he's able to make the roster. But I just think that if you are a first-team All-American performer, you lead the country in interceptions. If your measurables are not great, in my view, that shouldn't get rid of your draft stock. It should lower it, right? If he had Jevon Holland's traits and put up those numbers, he's probably a second-round pick. I mean, you lead the country in interceptions, first-team All-American. That tends to catch some eyeballs of coaches and scouts. But instead, he goes undrafted. He's in Miami. I hope he gets a chance to make a roster because he's one of the smartest, most instinctual players I have seen in Oregon secondary in quite some time. And we've had some good safeties come through, John Boyette and TJ Ward, and there have been a number of them who have played on the back end and been really nice players. And McKinley is up there. 2021 Verone McKinley. As a freshman in 2019. He was a nice piece to have on the back end, but he developed into the anchor of the back end of the defense this past year. And that's, a credit to his work ethic because he grew tremendously into a really, really good free safety. Mykael Wright is also confusing because he has the physical traits. And he's also a great return man, as we know, took a couple kicks to the house and had some big returns. So the fact that he didn't get drafted also really surprised me. I would say less so than Verone, but really they're pretty similar. I expected both to be taken, and I didn't think anybody else would get drafted. Maybe Verdell later in the rounds, but if you go back to the episodes where I was leading up to the draft, talking about where these guys could go, Thibodeaux was obviously going to be top 10. I thought Verone would be in the third. I thought McKinley would be in the fifth, and everybody else an undrafted free agent. And it turns out Thibodeaux was the only guy drafted, and that was just really, really strange. I think with Mykael Wright, what you had was a bad 2021 hurt him. Was he a bad player? No. But did he perform the way I thought he would after his 2019 and 2020 seasons when I was watching him and asking myself time and time again, is this a first-round caliber corner? And he took a major step back on the field in 2021. And so I think that hurt his draft stock a lot. And a number of Oregon fans, I'm sure, and I know that at least a few feel this way, is, boy, they should have stayed in college. Are they getting bad advice? And I'm not going to speculate on all of that. What I will say is it's frustrating as a fan when you see a guy who's that good, like either of these players are, and have been for the Ducks for the last several years. When you see them go to the NFL and not get drafted, it's frustrating because you think, well, did you need to come back? And man, how good could we have been? And this didn't work out the way that you thought. I remember when Kenny Wooten and Lou King left that 2019 Oregon team, I thought neither one is ready for the NBA, and neither one was ready, and neither one has made the league in a significant way. So I think Wooten's been on a couple G League contracts. I don't remember about Lou King. I haven't checked in on him recently, but in terms of them coming back, Verone McKinley could not have increased his draft stock. He maybe could have upped his 40 time on, if he worked on in the offseason. But was he going to lower it substantially? No. I mean, you can improve the number that you put out there, but ultimately, you're only as fast as you really are. So how much quicker could he get? And he wasn't going to grow at all. So off of a first-team All-American season, I understood why he went to the league. His draft stock wasn't going to be higher, and that seemed like the perfect storm to get him as a mid to late round pick. NFL scouts and GMs saw it differently. Mykael, on the other hand, definitely could have benefited from another season, knowing what we know now. I thought he was ready, a little rough around the edges, perhaps in man-to-man coverage, but really good in zone, instinctual, can lock on to defenders, pretty good ball skills. He could have benefited, it appears, from coming back to college for another year and probably been a draft pick. Instead, he got to latch onto the Seahawks recently to try and earn his way into a contract. So I think Mykael, would have benefited, but Verone led the nation in interceptions, was the best player Oregon had all season long on defense because Thibodeaux was in and out of the lineup with some injuries and whatnot. He was the most consistent. And when both of them were on the field, Thibodeaux was the best, and then it was Verone. But, McKinley led the Oregon defense and was a really, really good player leading the nation in picks in 2021. So I think those guys just – I don't know. I don't know on Verone because, like I said, those sorts of measurables, yeah, they should be a knock against you, but I don't think they should get you not drafted. I mean, a first-team All-American just not getting drafted, that's a little bit strange. Wrap up today and look at the undrafted free agent signings that have been made for all the other Ducks that went to the Combine, had their names in the draft, and unfortunately didn't hear their names called on draft night. So McKinley went to the Dolphins. CJ Verdell, this is a fascinating one. He gets signed to the Colts, and the reports are that he's going to be in a battle for the number 3 running back slot in Indianapolis with Max Borghi of Washington State. So a little Pac-12 duel going on there. And, I have enjoyed watching CJ Verdell run because he's been incredibly productive and he runs hard. And I always thought he brought it every game that he played. I would take Max Borghi in a heartbeat. And, I like Verdell, but Borghi brings more to the table. He's good between the tackles the way CJ is, and he's physical, but he's a better pass catcher. He's got way better agility, and he's much better at making guys miss in space. Verdell's probably a little bit more physical, right? Can finish runs a little better, but I hope Verdell is able to win that job and carve out a role because I love watching pro Ducks, but I would be surprised if he were able to beat out Max Borghi for that slot. Both Anthony Brown and Devon Williams end up on the Ravens fighting for some roster slots. George Moore, the 4th to the Packers. I thought Moore might have been, a 6th or 7th round pick, but I mean, he's got the size. I don't know if he's got great feet. I think that's kind of what held him back there. But those Mario Cristobal offensive linemen, they tend to be really, really good. Johnny Johnson III got to Houston as an undrafted free agent. And Mykael Wright, as I said, is with the Seahawks trying to earn his way into a contract. And, I just feel like there has to be something that we don't know that we're missing, like a disagreement about a contract or something, or a dollar figure, or maybe, I don't know. I'm just speculating there because how many of you Oregon fans coming into this draft thought, well, by the end of it, once the free agents get handed down and whatnot, Anthony Brown will find a team quicker than McKinley Wright? Yeah, I didn't see that one coming either. Now, Anthony Brown might not make the roster. The Ravens are literally the only place I think where he could have a shot because he's a tremendously mobile quarterback. But that one surprised me a little bit. I mean, good for AB, but I don't know how far he's going to be able to get. I'll be rooting for him. I know some Duck fans are done with him entirely and don't want to hear from him again. But anybody who plays at Oregon, I grow a personal affinity to it. And I hope all these guys succeed. I hope they all make the roster. I think Devon Williams has a chance to do that, and George Moore as well. I think Johnny Johnson and CJ Verdell have got a tougher battle ahead of them, and the other guys will cross our fingers and hope for the best. And fear not, you should like and subscribe wherever you're listening to or watching the show right now, because I will continue to cover products here on the show because I know that you're following them. I am as well. And it is a lot of fun. I appreciate everyone listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day and go Ducks.